Hey everyone, welcome to episode 280 of the All Dolphins podcast. As you can very well see by the gentleman to my right, I am joined today by New York Daily News Jets beat writer, former South Florida NFL writer, all around good guy, Antwan Staley, friend of the show. Antwan, how are you, bud?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Good. And I said friend of the show, but I'm not sure if I need to take that back because of the hat you're wearing. And for those not familiar, the person probably most responsible for the demise of the Montreal Expos, my beloved Montreal Expos, was Jeffrey Loria, who basically traded in his ownership of the Expos for that of the Marlins and basically ran them to the ground. And eventually, Major League Baseball took over the Expos and ran them into the ground until they moved to Washington.
Yeah, basically. I had nothing to do with that, but yeah, you're definitely accurate on that.
Yeah, and I liked you more at the combine when you had your Expos hat on. But you know what?
If I wasn't just running late, like I literally just walked in and did this, so I might have put my Expos hat on for you. I will next time.
Okay, I appreciate it. You're a good guy, and I'll let it slide this one time. One time, but that's it. So today, everyone, before we start, I will ask it, and everybody as nicely as I can, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell people you don't like, tell everybody about this podcast, especially if you enjoy what you're hearing, which if you like it, it helps. Thanks. That PSA out of the way, we're going to be talking AFC East, Dolphins, Jets. We're not going to forget about the Buffalo Bills because the Jets and the Dolphins have to get past them. We'll probably ignore the Patriots because they're irrelevant. How cool is that to say that, Antoine, after all those years where it was always Belichick and Brady and who's going to beat the Pats?
It's odd. I don't know if it's cool, but it's definitely odd to say that they're just bringing up the rear, and like you said, they're rebuilding. They're in rebuild mode. Got their new quarterback in Drake May, and we'll see how that goes out. But I know they made some good moves in the draft, but it's going to be a while before I think they compete. At least a couple of years.
Well, one last thing on the Patriots. I'm only going to do this because I know you're a Carolina guy. So, as a Carolina guy, your thoughts on Drake May and whether anybody in the division needs to be concerned about him moving forward?
Well, obviously not yet, but
No.
I think it's going to come down just to get some skill position players around him. But I do like him. I think he has a ton of talent. He kind of reminds me of Justin Herbert a little bit. No matter what you think of Justin Herbert, I think he has very similar skill set where he's athletic. He has a great arm, can move around in the pocket, make every throw there. It's just going to take some time for him to develop and, like you say, again, get weapons around him because the Patriots really didn't have much of any, to be quite honest with you.
I know, and they've also lost Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker this offseason, so that's not going to happen. Sorry, just cheap shot. Sorry, didn't mean that. And Justin Herbert, of course, the quarterback with whom Dolphin fans, I mean, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all, ever. It's never on their mind. Never. No.
Not at all. Not at all.
So Dolphin draft kind of like went all over the place in terms of the reaction because they drafted a couple of like kind of projects in the first rounds with Chop Robinson and Patrick Paul. What was the overall take on the Jets draft and your thoughts more specifically on the Jets draft?
I mean, I like what the Jets have done. I mean, I think you look at, first round, I think a lot of people wanted them to take a guy like Brock Bowers round one. But for me, I thought showing up that offensive line, and I know they, filled up all the holes as far as who's going to start. But, you look at a guy like Tyron Smith, he hasn't played a full season in nearly 10 years. So you got to make sure you got to get some backup there. I think Ola Fashado from Penn State not only fills that role, but also fills in the role that he could be your left tackle for the future. And it also, if something else would have happened, something would have happened to Morgan Moses, who's on the right side, Fashado could also swing over there too as well. So to have somebody that has that versatility to be able to play either side, which I think he's going to play at some point, it's just a matter of how much he plays. I definitely think round one, that was really good. Getting Malachi Corley in round three, I definitely think that was huge too. They definitely need to, improve that wide receiver core a little bit. Still some questions with Mike Williams and what his availability is going to be in training camp and also week one. So, I like that move too as well. Getting a guy like Jordan Travis there in round 5, also a developmental quarterback, I definitely think was big there, especially considering that you have Aaron Rodgers who's getting older, and also Tyrod Taylor who's had some injury issues too. And then they end up double dipping and running backs there, and Braylon Allen and also Isaiah Davis, somebody that can, when the weather gets cold, they don't have to rely too much on Brees Hall. They can use other running backs to get them involved too and help move the ball offensively. But overall, I think I give them about a B plus, A minus. I definitely think I liked just about every single thing that they did.
Nice. No, and I think Tyrod Taylor is going to be a great mentor for Jordan Travis. Not the elite, but unique, we're going to call him, quarterback Aaron Rodgers. I think Tyrod Taylor would be a great mentor for Jordan Travis moving forward. It's funny you didn't mention the former CFL dude, Quantez Stiggers, with the great backstory, having not played college football and playing what was the name of the league that he played in?
A fan control league.
There you go, the fan control league. Then went to the CFL, had 5 picks, CFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and blew it up at the pro day. I mean, that's an interesting guy there.
Yeah, it's definitely. I need to see a little bit more on him, obviously, because I didn't watch. Admittedly, I didn't watch a ton of CFL football recently, but everything I've heard. Hey, I'm being honest. Everything I've heard,
I don't either.
Everything I've heard, like the coaches really like him. They think he has a lot of upside too, and I think they needed to add in the cornerback room too, considering Michael Carter II to be a free agent after the 2024 season. Also, DJ Reed potentially if they don't do anything with him too as well.
Interesting. We talked about the Dolphins draft. We've done it ad nauseum on this show here the last few days, but I'm curious, and we've done it with Dolphin writers. When Omar was on the show, did it with Dave Hyde yesterday. So I'm curious though, from outside of the market, what the perception would be about what the Dolphins did. So
I like what I like Chop Robinson. Look, I get, a lot of people want an offensive line help at that spot too for Tua and the Dolphins offense, but getting a guy like Chop Robinson who has a ton of potential there. We know about Penn State edge rushers there, and we also know some questions there coming back with Chubb and also Phillips with the injury that they've sustained. You can never have too many good pass rushers, never. And I think it's a guy that clearly can develop and potentially be a upper echelon pass rusher with all the tools that he has. It may take him a little while there. He's still a bit raw in some areas there, a bit of a project. I know that ruffles some people down there the wrong way, just judging by tweets and certain things that people have said to me. But I do like that pick as well. You talk about Patrick Paul, another guy that I definitely think also has some potential there.
I know you're kind of going.
Huh?
You're making a face kind of like
well, I'm trying. Well, he's good. I like him as a talent. It's just for him, it's going to take some time too, because obviously, you look at Paul, like the size. Like that's the first thing that stood out, especially seeing him at the Senior Bowl, what we did there, 6'7", 330 pounds there. You love that. You hope he can eventually turn into that prototypical left tackle and eventually replace Teron Armstead. So I did like that. The pick I really like. I like the 4th round pick at Wright from Tennessee. I definitely think, having him there, you always got HN there, Jeff Wilson too as well, Mostert as well. Like you got those guys there. There's a good complement of running backs. I definitely think you can never have too much speed, and I definitely think he fits that system really well. So I think the Dolphins did a pretty good job. I mean, obviously some other needs they probably could have fixed there, but I'm not bagging on their draft as much as some of the fans were. Like I know a lot of people weren't happy with some of the things that they did.
Yeah, no, it's a very polarizing draft.
I know.
both from the media and from a fan standpoint. Are you, from a Jets perspective, surprised that they picked guys who more likely are going to help them down the line if they pan out, than immediately, considering this is a team that was 11-6 and in contention for the number 1 seed? And considering they have a lot of heavy contracts with outs after the 2024 season.
A little bit. I mean, I thought they would have did a little bit of mix of both. I think it's still a way you can build for the future, but also draft guys that can help you now, because they have a very small window. I mean, considering like you just said, they started paying people. Tua is coming up, obviously Jalen Waddle there, and then Phillips and other people that they're going to have to pay to as well. So yeah, they're in this like 1 or 2 year window where they have to strike. Otherwise, then I think Buffalo, again, to me, they're still the team to beat. Long as Josh Allen is there, the Jets, it's going to be interesting to see what they look like. They have some questions there as far as people with injuries and things of that nature. But yeah, I think those two are going to be jockeying for second place and potentially one of those wild card spots in the AFC. And we already talked about the Patriots rebuilding, but yeah, I think it's a case to be had that Jets could have possibly overtaken the Dolphins, considering what the things that they've done this year, or at least on paper. We'll see how it all plays out once the games get started.
Yeah, don't get ahead of me because we're going to get into the state of the AFC. So I want to wrap up like the draft talk here with one last thing, and this is the point I want to make because I've seen in the comments somebody chiding me for not acknowledging that the Dolphins are like building for the future, and there's nothing wrong with that. Well, sorry, you don't trade for Tyreek Hill and give him a huge contract. You don't take for Jalen Ramsey and give him a huge contract. You don't sign Teron Armstead to the huge contract they gave him, and you don't trade Bradley Chubb and give him the huge contract. And in the case of Hill and Chubb, giving away first round picks too, if your view is purely long term.
Correct.
Those types of moves, and especially when you got four of them like that, those are win now moves.
Yeah, you're trying. Yeah, they're definitely trying to win now. That I like. It's no question about that, and they know the window's coming up too. Especially when once they start paying tour, it's going to be less and less money for them to go around. So that's why there's a window. I think is very vital for them to try to win, especially in 2024. If they don't win in 2024, at least win a playoff game, then I'm curious to see what their future may look like after that.
No, correct. And, I'm with you there, and this is why to me it was kind of a weird draft because I thought they would try to do both, like you mentioned, get some help for now, address the future. But if they were going to err on one side or the other, to me, would have been erring on the side of 2024, not the future, because again of all the resources that they spent. So now that the draft is over, state of the AFC East, and you kind of mentioned it in there. It's like I'm sorry, and this is not what Dolphin fans want to hear, but Josh Allen makes the Buffalo Bills the favorites. I don't think anyone, no matter how you slice it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think they're still the team to beat too. I mean, I'm curious to see how Keon Coleman will fit in with the rest of that offense there. I think they'll rely heavy on the tight ends with obviously Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, who they also drafted a year ago, and with a lot of the running game too. I definitely think that they'll utilize that as well, especially with James Cook and the way his emergence were a year ago. So I definitely think for me, Buffalo is still the team to beat there. It's a question. I don't know if they're Super Bowl contenders, but I definitely think they're the best team in the AFC East until proven otherwise.
No, completely agree. How cool was the Keon Coleman little talk about the Macy's jacket before his press conference?
That was
You
pretty
caught that,
cool.
right?
That was cool. And then him visiting the stadium, I thought that was pretty cool too.
Oh, I didn't. I have to check that one out. And then I noticed you commented on the Xavier Leggett press conference, and he's got this. Is that a Carolina accent? Is that what that is?
That's a South Carolina accent.
Is it a
Very
South Carolina?
South Carolina accent is very different than North Carolina because it's a little bit more backwoods and southern there where he's from, as opposed to me. I'm more or less in the city where I grew up in the city.
You're from Charlotte, right? Do I not have that
Yes,
right?
outside of Charlotte. Yeah.
Okay. See, something I should have known before, actually, before we were on the air, but I remembered. So with the Jets, do you think the Jets can compete if by some miracle, like their lineup that's held together by thread and athletic tape and all that holds up and they don't suffer significant injuries?
I think so. I mean, they got a great defense. We already know that. I mean, that's been their calling call the last couple of years there. I think that's always going to keep them in games. I think the biggest question, obviously, on the offensive side of the ball and Aaron and like what he looks like, because essentially we haven't seen him play in a game since 2022, and even then it was kind of. A lot of people were questioning was he still on the same level that he was the year his MVP years, and obviously he was not in 2022, which had a little bit to do with why the Packers missed the playoffs that particular year. But if he can get back to somewhat of that form, I don't expect him to be the MVP of the league, that type of form. But if he can just take care of the football, distribute it where it needs to go, lessen the mistakes there, I definitely think they got a shot to at least compete in that division with Buffalo for sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the main switch on defense from last year is Bryce Huff is gone and Hassan Reddick took his place. Is that basically it,
Yeah,
or is there anything else major?
John Franklin Myers is gone
Oh yeah,
too. John Franklin Myers is gone. Like they traded him to Denver over the weekend, and I would say a minor move, although I think it could potentially be major depending on how you look at it. Like Quentin Jefferson had a really good year for the Jets last year. He ended up having 7 sacks there. He departed as well, so you kind of lose his versatility, which you get on the inside and outside. He can play both sides.
Why did they trade Franklin Myers? I thought he was a solid contributor up front.
Money, basically money. Because once you bring on Hassan Reddick, then they had no way to pay really both of them, and they wanted for either Franklin Myers was going to have to take a pay cut, or they were just going to have to release him, and then they ended up finding somebody to take him, and Denver actually restructured his contract. So,
Okay.
so money had a lot to do. It was really financial reasons. Like they loved the guy, but they just really couldn't afford to keep him, not at that price.
Okay. No, and I think I would say this, and feel free to disagree with me if you want. But I know we've addressed this before on the show, but to me, people I think may have gotten the wrong perception of the Jets defense last year because maybe the numbers weren't as good, but the amount of stress put on them because of how, excuse my language, how pathetic. Well, it's not a bad word, but because of how pathetic the offense was, and it's like basically three now go back on the field, three now go back on the field. That affects the defense, and we saw that with the Dolphins back in 2004. I don't know, you may have been down here. There, defense wasn't terrible, but they were always on the field, and eventually they would wear down, and the numbers would not be great in the end. But it was still not a bad defense.
Yeah, I mean, even despite all that, the Jets statistically finished third in total defense last year.
It
Now,
was not
now
high.
the run defense was not very good if you look at the numbers. The pass defense was. I think that's kind of where the numbers kind of get a little skewed there. They couldn't stop the run at times. They had problems with that, at least inside, especially. And I think that's where it comes in, where your offense isn't doing as well, and the opposing team just grinds you down as far as running the ball. And of course, they're going to get tired, and eventually the dam is going to break. And I think that's kind of what happened. You saw it in, games against, the Cleveland Browns, or, even the loss against the Giants. I mean, they were able to run the ball. I think the Dolphins did a good job at times running the football against the Jets too, in some of their meetings, in particular the first meeting. So I definitely think them stopping the run was a bigger problem than anything.
Yeah, that game turned on the pick six right before halftime, and in the second half, it looked like Mike McDaniel realized they're not scoring, so we'll just run and run and run and run and run, and
Exactly. And
eventually
that's
they
what they
wore down.
did. Yeah, the air kind of went out the balloon after that.
Good old Tim Boyle. Is he still in the league? Anybody pick him up?
Last time I think he was in Houston. I'm not sure if they kept him or not, but once the Jets released him, he ended up latching on with the Houston Texans.
So offensively, the Jets made a lot of moves. Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith, Mike Williams.
Yeah, John Simpson on the offensive line too as
Oh,
well.
that's right, John Simpson. So pretty much brand new offensive line.
Yeah.
And same situation. Good talent. Can it stay healthy? Basically.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, Morgan Moses had off-season rotator cuff surgery, dating back from an
It
injury.
starts now before it even begins.
That's what I say. That happened. He played through it last year, and he just waited to have surgery on it. So again, that's something to take note of, because him and Tyron Smith are both the same age. So that's why you go out and get a Owen Fashano, because you don't want to just rely on two 33-year-old tackles, especially one in particular who has shown the inability to not stay healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. So you definitely want to have some kind of plan in place.
Yeah, I look at the Jets, and it's like you have to take him seriously because in terms of ability, they're really good.
Yeah.
But they have so many guys with nasty injury histories, or that they're counting on a lot. Like Mike Williams is a stud as a wide receiver, but he's always hurt.
Correct. It's the same thing.
Tyron Smith's the same thing. Aaron Rodgers, you mentioned 2 years ago, he wasn't very good. He also played with a broken thumb or thumb injury for a month. He looked, or basically the reports were he was half checked out of Green Bay anyway. That didn't help. So who knows if there's a chip on his shoulder, but it seems to me
older.
that he is, but it seems to me like it's asking an awful lot, and it's hoping a lot for the Jets to think that it's going to hold up in place.
Oh yeah, that's why I say this is a major questions with them. They relied on a lot, like you said, a lot of people to stay healthy, and that's not always realistic. So that's why you have to have a plan in place just in case that does not happen. Because more or less, it's probably not everybody's not going to stay healthy. Like even you play Madden, nobody stays healthy, but definitely in the game, the real football, this definitely not going to be the case. And the Jets have seen it the last couple of years. They went through 14 different offensive line combinations in 17 games. The year before that, they had 11 different players start on the line. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers suffered his major injury a year ago. Even Zach Wilson suffered a concussion too, as well, when he was here. So injuries are going to happen. It's just a matter of can you be proactive and forecast them coming. And I think they've done a better job of that this offseason.
Yeah, his last game as a Jet was against the Dolphins. They knocked him
It
out of New
was.
York, basically.
They,
Uh,
yeah.
let's do this exercise here quickly, and this is gonna piss off a lot of people, but hey, it's what we're here for, right?
Here we go. Here we go.
Let's look at the rosters by position. I don't know how well we can do this, but at least we'll do the Jets. I think we have a pretty good idea of what all the rosters look like by position, ranking the AFC East.
Okay.
So if you were to rank the quarterbacks, let's see.
Okay. Well, we already know who's number one. So
Well, no, correct. Okay, but the question is 2 and 3.
right now, I would say two because I know what two it is. I'm not sure what Aaron Rodgers is at this point, too. So that would be the only thing. Like I would slightly put Tua there at number two, just because we've seen him a little bit more recently than Aaron Rodgers. So I put Tua, but you can swap 2 and 3. But yeah, that's how I would go right now.
That's fair. Yeah, no, and you make a very good point. If it's Aaron Rodgers anywhere near like the 2021 version, I think you have to go with Rodgers. But again, the odds that he goes the full season, and he's back to that form, who knows? But no, okay, I'm with you. Running back, so Bills is, I guess, James Cook's the main guy. Dolphins, they have like 17 of them. Jets, Brees Hall. I don't even know who's number 2 now. I guess the rookie Braylon Downs, and I like him a lot, by the way. Patriots have, I don't even know who.
Stevenson, yeah. In that case, if you talk about the best running back in the division, I would say it's definitely Brees Hall and James Cook are like 1 and 2. But if you talk about the running game as a whole, like you have to put, I guess I would put the Dolphins up there one reluctantly because they have as far as the collection, I think the collection of running backs is better than everybody else. So if you do it like that, then I would pick Miami number 1.
And Jets or Buffalo number 2, I would imagine, ahead of New England.
I'll pick the Jets because I think Brees Hall is better than James Cook. So although I think James Cook is dynamic as well. So Jets 2 and then Buffalo 3.
I agree with you again. This is not good. We need to disagree or something. We need to disagree so we can start going like this. But no,
I'm very rational. So, but you already know that anyway.
No, I agree because I'm with you. Brees Hall is a complete stud, but Dolphins have the depth there. Yeah. Wide receiver, Jets have Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Malachi Corley. Who else do they have?
Alan Lazard.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, I'm definitely picking the Dolphins first because, I mean, you got Tyreek Hill and then Jalen Waddle. So, yeah, I would definitely pick them number 1. Definitely as of right now, I have to pick the Jets too. I mean, Garrett Wilson, I definitely think he's a dog. I mean, he's really been good despite the quarterback play the last couple of years. I mean, he still put up big numbers there. We'll see what Mike Williams looks like and how healthy he'll be come training camp. But, yeah, I'll pick them second. Buffalo third, reluctantly, although, I mean, it's not a lot there. It's very unproven, but, I still think it's better than what the Patriots have. So they would be third.
Agreed again. Man. Tight end.
This is not fun for podcast reasons. Tight end.
Tight end. Who you got with it? I don't even remember. I know a lot of draftniks were suggesting maybe they'll go, like as you mentioned, maybe they'll go Brock Bowers because he's too good to pass up. But I guess the Jets decided no, tackle is more important.
I'll have to go with Buffalo. Definitely 1 here with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox there. So yeah, there'll be 1. Who are the Dolphins tight ends right now?
Jonnu Smith, Durham Smythe, Julian Hill, Jody Fortson.
Oh yeah, Durham Smythe, one of the few Dolphins that was still there when I was covering the team. I'll go the Jets second, and then I'll go with the Dolphins third, and then Patriots kind of bringing up the rear.
And I'm going to have to profess my ignorance here. Who are the Jets tight ends these days?
Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Rucker. Who else is there? Kenny Oboa, and that's it.
Okay, well, I got Dolphins over Jets. Sorry, because
I don't know about that. I think Tyler Conklin is better than anybody the Dolphins have.
Oh, I'll see it now. I'll take John Smith over Tyler Conklin. I'm
what?
not.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I'm not. See, now here we come on. Here we go.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, Tyler Conklin put up some nice numbers last year. A lot of people don't got to know that, but it was decent.
Yeah, it's because the quarterbacks couldn't throw down the field, first of all, because they didn't have time.
You might be right, but I think he's a solid tight. I still think he's better than anybody else on the Dolphins. Put it that way.
Okay, so we have our first agree to disagree. Cool.
Okay.
I prefer offensive line.
Definitely taking Buffalo here. Like Buffalo won. Now, as it currently constructed, I would take the Jets over the Dolphins, like 2 and 3, and then New England, 4.
New England's got a couple of decent players. I mean, Andrews
they do,
and then Wood's not a bad.
They have some questions at left tackle still, though.
You do.
That's why I would put them 4.
No, I agree. But here's the thing with Buffalo, though, and trust me, Dolphin fans are going to point this out. They're not going to be as lucky this year as they were last year in terms of staying healthy on the offensive line. That was crazy. And they started every single guy every game. That's crazy.
Yeah, I wish I knew what that looked like, because the Jets had been injury roll with the offensive line the last couple of years. The Dolphins been too. No,
the funny stat is last year the Dolphins had the second most different starting offensive line combination. The only team that had more was the Jets.
The Jets. Exactly.
And meanwhile, Buffalo, Buffalo had one starting offensive line combination the entire year.
That is crazy. Yeah. That's insane.
So absolutely. Defensive line. Jets are pretty good there.
Now we talk about, see, this is where scheme is going to come in too. Now, are we talking about the edge rushers factoring into this defensive line, or are we just putting them differently?
No, I think we should go defensive line and edge rushers.
So we're going to do them separately.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you got the best player in the division.
So they're going to do that, then I would definitely take the Jets then. Jets in that case. Yeah, Jets. There's some questions with Buffalo too, although I'll take Jets, Buffalo, Dolphins, Patriots in that case.
I agree. And last year Dolphins would have been higher. That's when they had Sealer and Wilkins. Now they don't have Christian Wilkins anymore.
Wilkins,
and even last year, and I had an argument with the previous co-host of this podcast that he kept underselling Quinnen Williams, and that dude is a dude.
Just because he doesn't have the sacks, doesn't mean he's not getting pressures. Like his pressure rate was insane.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that one time I was on, I think.
Yeah, no, the dude can play. Edge defenders, I'll go first this time. The edge defenders, if I'm looking at the Dolphins, I mean, they have a lot of numbers, except, of course, we have the cloud with the health status of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. Now they added Chop Robinson. They got Shaquille Barrett in free agency. They also drafted Mohamed Kamara in the 5th round, who's small but is a dog. So that's a good group. Bills have Epinesa, Greg Russo, Von Miller, who's coming off a really nothing year. Yeah, and he's major diss. Jets with Hassan Reddick, Quincy Williams. Or was he more of a pure linebacker?
He's more of a pure linebacker. Like I put Jermaine Johnson in there. There's some solid group here. Healthy, I'd go Dolphins. And then the Patriots have they still got Judon, so
I'd still go Dolphins number 1 if healthy. But
that's what I was gonna say. Like it's kind of hard because if they were healthy, they'd be number 1, like on top. But now it's a lot of questions there, so. Reluctantly, I'm going to put the Jets 1 and then the Dolphins 2nd because of the questions, injury-wise.
Homer. Sorry.
I'm just saying, if it wasn't the questions there, I would definitely have Dolphins 1. But yeah, Jets, Dolphins, Bills, and Patriots. Although I could make the case you could put the Patriots there third because of Judon, although he's coming off basically a season where he didn't play.
Correct. No, and Jermaine Johnson really came on last year. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
No, and since you're here, I don't think it's going to happen anymore. But give the fans and the viewers here a quick synopsis of Carl Lawson, since the Dolphins had him in for a free agent visit.
Basically, I mean, he hurt his back in like the OTAs last year, and then was not really the same after that. Like he kind of struggled to get back, and then at the same time, Jermaine Johnson started to emerge. I mean, somebody that they'd taken the year before, and then he took over his spot. Carl Lawson got a little bit of time there. And then also the Jets have a rotational players that they like to use on the defensive line. Yeah, they drafted Will McDonald, obviously had John Flake Myers, Jermaine Johnson. And then, Carl Lawson was kind of the odd man out. But, you look at it, the year before, Carl Lawson, I believe, had 7 sacks. So he's not far removed from that. I think somebody will pick him up, whether it be, come training camp or, if injuries happen or something like that. But I definitely think at very least, he could still be a good rotational guy on somebody's roster.
Okay. So if it happens, that's your scouting report on Carl Lawson. Don't think it's going to happen since the Dolphins went Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara, but we never know. So we close it out now with the secondaries. And Buffalo's is tough. I mean, Buffalo just blew it up. No Micah Hyde, no Jordan Poyer, no Tre'Davious White. They also lost another one. I want to say, is it Teron Johnson or Dane Jackson? They also lost. Jets bring back Sauce Gardner. They bring back everybody, don't they?
Other than Jordan Whitehead.
Okay.
Whitehead's in Tampa, but everybody else is back.
Kind of tough not to go with them, isn't it?
Yeah, Jets are definitely going to be one in this case too. It's just a matter of, I guess, reluctantly, I'll put the Jets and Dolphins be 1 and 2 for me. It just, I'm trying to think of who else is on New England. Like who's on New England?
Kyle Duggar is really good. I like Kyle Duggar.
I like Duggar. Yeah, Duggar's good. Is Pepper still there?
Yes, Jabril Peppers.
Okay, I might pick the Patriots third in this case.
Yeah, because Buffalo is.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Patriots third, and that's what they're the Bills. Yeah, fourth. So yeah, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, Bills.
They did draft a safety early in the draft, Cole Bishop from Utah.
Yes.
They also added somebody in free agency, and
there's still some questions there, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick the Patriots third in this one.
Yeah, I agree, and I would have been more maybe thinking about putting the Dolphins into a challenge for number 1, except Jordan Poyer turned 33 in April, and last year he was not Jordan Poyer that all AFC's fans know and love. He just wasn't the same guy. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay, and that's something, and I say that, and the Dolphin fans, sorry, that's being real. It's funny. We had Tim Graham on from The Athletic, and he talked about that. What he'll bring more than anything else now is the attitude, the guts, and all that. And his comment was the best quote ever on the All Dolphins podcast. The Dolphins are paying for Jordan Poyer's balls.
I can't argue with that. That's a great quote.
That is good. We're going to wrap it up with a very quick thoughts here on NFL league-wide news. Number 1, this idea that Roger Goodell recently threw out of pushing for an 18-game regular season schedule. Your thoughts on that?
We all knew it was going to come eventually. Now, I think it's going to be like 10 years from now or whatever. But when they made it, I think they initially wanted to go to 18, and then the Players Union kind of shut that down. So they just kind of came on the terms of 17 games. But it's going to come at some point. Like, it's just a matter of time. And, I'm expecting it to happen. Like I said, the next 10 years, the next bargaining agreement, whatever that does happen.
Oh, well, no, the idea is he's pushing for it like before the end of the CBA. And
see, of course, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't know if the union is going to agree to that.
Well, they're going to be like, okay, well, what are you going to do for us?
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's going to take a little bit of time.
Correct. Purely as a fan, as like enjoy watching football. I mean, preseason games is like, sorry, no. And so purely from a fan standpoint, sign me up, but I get the concerns about putting more toll on the players' bodies. So I hope if it does happen that they do get something majorly worthwhile for it. I look at my index cards here. Last thing on our agenda, since everybody's talking about it, Joel Klatt, Fox Sports analyst, had mocked him to the Dolphins at 21. You wound up going number 8. Your thoughts on the Falcons 2 months after giving Kirk Cousins, what, $60 million guaranteed? Go ahead and draft Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall.
I don't necessarily. It was back. The optics are bad, simply because I mean you just gave this man a ton of money, and then now you go back around and draft a quarterback, and you're like, what? I don't mind them doing it because I know Kirk Cousins is getting older, but it's just a shot to everybody because nobody expected it. Like nobody saw that coming at all. I thought he would. I thought Penix would go to the Raiders or something like that. That's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, the Raiders need a quarterback. I think Penix. I thought Penix was a first rounder anyway. It was just a lot of injuries, but the Falcons, I'm like, wow, okay. But now it puts Kirk Cousins on the clock. Like essentially now you're going to get rid of him in 2 years. Like they have an out after the 2026, and you hope Michael Penix will be ready for that. Like they talked about 4 or 5 year plan. That's not realistic, especially in this day and age. So yeah, I think Penix will definitely be the starting quarterback in a couple of years.
No, it was just weird, and I love the idea of a team having a succession plan like that. Succession's a fabulous show, by the way. Talk about the sidebar here, Succession, if you've never watched it.
I still need to get on that too. That's on my list.
So good. But it's just weird. And here's the thing too, is and it wasn't me. Somebody made that point. Kirk Cousins is coming back from a torn Achilles, which means you're not seeing him a whole lot either in the offseason program or in training camp. What happens with the team if Penix is just completely lighting it up and wows his teammates with the way he throws the ball? And then season arrives, boom, Kirk Cousins, we signed you for that money. You're our guy. And then he starts struggling, and you don't think that could create some like ripples, waves, issues in the locker room with guys saying, play the kid, it's just
weird. Yeah, especially he's already older too. Like I can see if Penix was like 21, and then you have him sit for a couple of years, he's still 23. But yeah, Penix will be 24 later this month. So you're like, yeah, you don't want to wait and have them sitting for that long, I don't think.
It was just weird. Any final words before we wrap it up, other than apologizing for wearing the Marlins?
No, nothing, man. I'm just glad you had me on once again, despite my had a choice.
It's all good. Always appreciate it, Antwan. With that, I'm going to give the hat salute. You're going to see our logo, and we're going to say goodbye, and we will be back on Friday. Thank you very much, Antwan.